One of the Bible's wonders is in big trouble. The Dead Sea is drying up very fast. Something strange is happening at the Dead Sea. Where there was once only salt and death, fresh water is now rising. And in it, fish. Real living fish in pools that did not exist just a few years ago. No one can fully explain it. Not scientists, not locals. But for those who know the Bible, this feels familiar. Over 2,600 years ago, the prophet Ezekiel saw water flowing into the Dead Sea, bringing life. It seemed impossible, until now. The Dead Sea has been shrinking for years. It was once a place where people came to float and heal. Now, the water keeps disappearing. Cracks split the ground. Sinkholes open up, some large enough to swallow roads and buildings. Resorts stand empty, trees die, and warning signs replace tourists. Why? The Jordan River, which once fed the sea, has been diverted for farming and cities. Industries also took water and minerals. Many plans were made to save the sea, but nothing changed. The Dead Sea became a sign of what happens when nature is ignored. But the story is not over. Near these sinkholes, something amazing is happening quietly. Freshwater pools are appearing in the desert. At first, people thought they were just rain puddles, but they stayed. Then, something even more shocking appeared. Fish. Real fish, swimming in freshwater pools where no life was supposed to exist. Scientists were stunned. The Dead Sea, too salty for life, is now showing signs of life in the middle of death. Some experts think underground springs or deep aquifers are causing these new pools in the desert, but no theory fully explains it. This isn't just water appearing, it's life returning to a lifeless place. It's not just fish. Reeds are growing, microbes are forming. Nature is quietly building small ecosystems in the desert. Is this just nature restoring balance? Or is it something more? We often expect miracles to be loud, but maybe the real signs are quiet, in hidden places. Where there was only salt and death, now there is movement, breath, and life. As fish swim near the Dead Sea, it's hard not to remember an old prophecy. Long ago, a man named Ezekiel saw a vision. In Ezekiel 47, he saw water flowing from a temple through the desert into the Dead Sea, making its salty water fresh and full of life. Fish appeared, trees grew, and the sea was healed. Wherever the river flows, everything will live. Ezekiel 47, 8-9. For thousands of years, people thought this was only symbolic, a picture of God's healing. But now, we see fish in pools near the Dead Sea, plants rising from salt, and fresh water appearing. What if this isn't a coincidence? What if Ezekiel saw something real meant for our time? Maybe ancient words are coming true now. This leads to deeper questions. Another prophet, Zechariah, also spoke of living waters flowing from Jerusalem to the Dead Sea and the Mediterranean. He said they would flow in summer and winter, and that God would be king over all the earth on that day. The Lord will be king over the whole earth. Zechariah 14, 8-9. The Bible often uses water as a sign of new life, God's presence, and healing. In the Middle East, water means life. A spring could keep a village alive. So when prophets spoke of water flowing from Jerusalem, they meant more than physical water. They were talking about God bringing new life to a broken world. Zechariah saw living water flowing east and west, reaching the Dead Sea and the Mediterranean. This water would never stop flowing, showing a new order from God. Today, we see fresh water in places we never expected, and life is returning to the Dead Sea. What once felt like distant prophecy might be happening now. The prophets were not just dreaming. They saw a future God was preparing. When history and prophecy match, we see that God is working quietly even now. Long before it was called the Dead Sea, the land near the Jordan was lush and well-watered, like the Garden of Eden, Genesis 13:10. But this paradise was near Sodom and Gomorrah, cities that turned away from God and faced judgment. Fire fell, the earth shook, and the Green Valley became a lifeless salt basin. Since then, the Dead Sea has carried this legacy. The Dead Sea is not just a dead place in nature. It is a symbol of judgment when people move away from God. Its name, Dead, says it all. A place where nothing grows and the air feels heavy. But the Bible does not end with judgment. God is not only a judge, He is also a redeemer. God rebuilds what is broken, restores what was lost, and brings life where no one expects it. If the Dead Sea was once like Eden and then faced judgment, now life is coming back. This shows us the story isn't over. What was judged is now being revived, and even in the driest places, grace can bring life again. This is not just about the land, but about hearts. As the land around the Dead Sea changes, with fish in fresh pools and green plants near salty shores, we should ask, is something deeper being restored? In Ezekiel 36, before he speaks of healing waters, God promises to bring His people back to their land, cleanse them, and give them new hearts and a new spirit. This is true redemption, not just healing the land, but healing souls. In our time, we have seen the Jewish people return to Israel after many years away. The nation was reborn in 1948, cities rebuilt, and culture revived. Many believe we are now seeing a spiritual return too, as the land blooms again and old prophecies come alive. The Dead Sea, once lifeless, is starting to stir with life. This is more than nature or history. It is full restoration. God doesn't just fix the past, He makes it new, turning dry places into places of wonder, starting with the heart. First, the land is restored, then the heart. When both are renewed, redemption becomes something we live, not just something we read about. Prophecies sometimes sound like poetry or mystery, but they prove true over time. For example, in Ezekiel 26, the prophet spoke of the fall of Tyre. He said many nations would come against it. Its walls would fall, and its stones and wood would be thrown into the sea. This happened exactly as foretold, showing God's word comes true with precision. For years, people thought it was just a story. But in 332 BC, Alexander the Great came to Tyre. Tyre had moved to an island, thinking it was safe. But Alexander told his men to build a road to the island. They used the old city's stones, wood, and dirt, throwing them into the sea, just as the prophet Ezekiel said 250 years before. That road still connects the island to the land today, proving the prophecy true. If that prophecy came true, why not the one about water bringing life to the Dead Sea? Ezekiel's prophecy was not just a warning. It shows God's words are real and happen in His perfect timing. Ezekiel's last prophecy speaks of a city called "The Lord is There," Ezekiel 48:35. It shows God living with His people, not far away, but close forever. Later, in Revelation 22, John saw a vision of a bright city with a clear river from God's throne, bringing life and healing to the nations. From Ezekiel to Revelation, the message is clear. God brings life where there was death. What we see happening near the Dead Sea today may be a sign that God's plan is still unfolding. Paul said in Romans 11:15 that when Israel turns back to God, it will mean life from the dead. This feels closer now than ever. The Dead Sea, once only a place of judgment, is now showing signs of life. Let us stay watchful and prayerful. because sometimes God's signs come in whispers, not shouts. Every drop of water, every small fish, and every green plant near the Dead Sea is a quiet reminder: Jesus is coming soon.